This is the Wednesday, July 15th, 2020 meeting of the Franklin Township Planning Board. Franklin Township is operating under a declaration of state and local emergency due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. It has been determined that the public's attendance at meetings of the Franklin Township Planning Board would pose a risk to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. As a result, this meeting has been relocated from the council chambers at the Franklin Township Municipal Building to a virtual meeting format and is being conducted utilizing virtual remote telecommunications equipment in conformance with the directives of the state of New Jersey. The relocation of this virtual meeting of the planning board was posted in the township's official newspaper, the Courier News, on the township website, the township cable station, and on exterior doorways of the municipal building. This notice detailed the following means of public participation in this meeting: link to the virtual meeting via WebEx, and a call-in number for those without internet access. Public inspection of application materials was made available via the township website and or by appointment in the municipal building. Formal action will be taken at this virtual meeting. As a reminder to board members, we ask you that you refrain from asking questions until the applicant has presented all witnesses and exhibits. I will open the floor to board questions after the applicant is done presenting. In order to reduce potential background noise, we ask that you mute yourselves unless you wish to speak or to provide a vote. For the public, for those that are watching via WebEx, please indicate in the chat section whether you desire to provide input. Please provide your name and address. At the appropriate time in the meeting, township staff will announce your name, unmute you, and you will have opportunity to provide comment. For those members of the public that are listening via the call-in number, again, at the appropriate time in the meeting, township staff will unmute the phone lines, and we ask that you take your turn in providing your input. You'll be asked to provide your name and address. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Chase.
Here.
Here.
Mahir Rafiq.
Here.
Cecile McIver. You didn't come in, right? Jennifer Ragnow. Did you unmute Jennifer?
Here.
There we go. We got you.
Charles Brown. Robert Thomas.
Here.
Carol Schmidt.
Here.
And Chairman Orsini.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, let me just check the callers to see if there's any board members on callers calling in. All right, callers, any board members calling in? Any board members? Nope, I'm going to mute them. All right, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Mark. So our first order of business is minutes. So we have the regular meeting from May 6, 2020. The one person that was absent for that meeting and unable to vote on the minutes is Mahir. And so I would ask for a motion for the minutes for May 6th.
Move the minutes.
Have a second?
Second it.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Coral Houck.
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow. What's unmuted? Jennifer Ragnow.
I'm muted. Yes.
There you go. There we got you.
Mustafa Manzareh.
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
Carol Schmidt.
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Okay, next item is regular meeting from May 20th. Mustafa, you're not eligible to vote on these minutes. Looks like everybody else is. So if I could have a motion for the May 20th minutes, please.
Move the minutes.
Seconded.
Thank you, Ted.
Councilman Chase.
Yes.
Coral Houck.
Yes.
Mahir Rafiq.
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow.
Yes.
Robert Thomas.
Yes.
Carol Schmidt.
Yes.
And Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Okay, so we have a few resolutions as well tonight. The first one is BNY Mellon, PLN 19-00016. If I may have a motion on that one. Not, I will move to approve. Do I have a second?
A second.
Mike, you can't move.
Aye.
The only people who can vote is Ted Chase,
Oh,
Jennifer Ragnow, Mustafa Mansray. Those are the only three that can vote.
oh, thanks, Christine. Then I'll withdraw that and let somebody who can actually do it.
Okay, I will move the resolution then.
Carol or Mustafa, could you please?
I second.
I need a second. Okay, Councilman Chase,
Yes,
Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
and Mustafa Mansray.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Next one is S4 Estates LLC, PLN 16-00009. And let's see
Everybody
who's,
can vote except Mustafa.
okay, thanks, Christine.
Can we get a first, please?
I will move it.
I'll second.
Councilman Chase,
yes,
Carl Hauck,
Yes.
Mahir Rafik,
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
Robert Thomas,
Yes.
Carol Schmidt. Carol Schmidt,
Yes.
Chairman Orsini.
Yes. And last resolution, North American Real Property LLC, PLN 19-00018.
Mustafa is the only one that cannot vote.
I'll go ahead and move the resolution, Christine.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Councilman Chase,
yes,
Carl Hauck,
Yes.
Mahir Rafik,
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
Robert Thomas,
Yes.
Carol Schmidt,
Yes.
and Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Mark, any items for discussion tonight?
No.
Okay. Then we'll open up to general public comments. So at this time, we will open the board meeting to public comments on any planning topic that is not a subject of its own hearing tonight. The one hearing we have tonight is Pedro Vieira PLN 20-00002. If you're here for that, we will open separately for that. So right now I'll entertain a motion to open to the public for general planning comment.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is now open for public comment.
Okay, and as the chairman just indicated, I'm going to unmute all of the callers and all of the attendees. And again, this is the moment to speak. If you have any general planning, you'll have plenty of opportunity to comment on the application later in the meeting. So I'm going to unmute all the callers. Does anybody have any general planning comments to bring up to the planning board? I'm not hearing any, Mr. Chairman.
Move to close.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of closing this portion of the meeting to the public?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Meeting is closed. So we move on to our hearing tonight, Pedro Vieira PLN 20-00002, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Lanford.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, if I could just make a slight modification to the reminder to the board members for public input. In addition to the chat function, the township has also added a raise your hand function for those people who are calling via WebEx. So again, you can either raise your hand or go into the chat function, and we will let you speak at the appropriate moment. And for those who are calling in, I will unmute you at various times during the hearing, again, for you to either ask a question or make a comment. So I will now bring in Mr. Lanfrit.
I'm going to open the room for me, huh?
Okay, so Mr. Lanford, are you there?
Hear me?
We heard you for a second there. But you're muted, Mr. Lanford. I'll unmute you.
There we go.
Can you hear
Can you
us?
hear me? Can you hear me
Yep.
now?
Yep. So I see Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Vieira. Should I bring them in now, or who should I bring at this point?
I'm going to call both of them as witnesses. You can probably bring them both in.
All right, I'm going to bring them both in, and I'll mute them at first. Okay, Mr. O'Brien is there. Yep, they're both in. All right, so go ahead, Mr. Lanford.
Mr. Vignolo, they are both going to testify. Do you want to swear them both in now, or do you want to wait till I call them? Whatever easier for you.
Mr. Chairman, what's your pleasure?
Why don't we go ahead and swear them both in? Only two.
We can't see either of them. Are they coming on video or no?
Peter's on video. I can see him.
They're both unmuted,
Yep.
and they're both
Mr.
panelists. They should have access to the camera.
Mr. Vieira doesn't look like he's video enabled right now.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you, yes.
All right. I'm not sure how to troubleshoot the camera issue. Start my video. Here we go. How about that?
Hey, there you are.
Okay.
All right, that's you. Mr. O'Brien.
You have successfully troubleshot that. All right, go ahead, Peter, and we'll get them sworn in.
I'm trying to see if Mr. O'Brien can effectuate his camera as well.
We have one more.
I seem to be having a technical difficulty. I'm working on it now.
If that is the case, why don't I make my opening statement? And since Mr. Vieira is available, he'll be my first witness, so we could do it that way. We can swear him in when I call him, and then we'll swear in Mr. O'Brien later.
Sounds good.
Okay, hopefully Mr. O'Brien will figure out his issues. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Lanford appearing on behalf of the applicant. The property in question is 220 Treptow Road, block 423.01, lot 29. We are here this evening for a minor subdivision to create a flag lot and eventually construct a single-family residential dwelling on the lot that we are proposing to create. The application flag lots are permitted in the R40 zone. However, we do need a variance. The property in question is 55,359 square feet. What we are proposing is to have the front lot as 40,000 square feet, and the rear lot will be 48,761 square feet, thus necessitating the variance because the ordinance requires that the rear lot be at a minimum of 60,000 square feet. The plans that were submitted in conjunction with this application were a two-sheet subdivision plan, which all the members should have, prepared by Fisk Associates, dated February 21st, 2020. Normally, I would have Mr. Fisk provide all of this information, but as of last month, Mr. Fisk has retired and has left the state of New Jersey. So I just wanted to outline the proposed application. And this evening, I intend to call two witnesses. One is the applicant, Mr. Vieira, and the other is Mr. O'Brien to provide planning testimony. I will also review the staff comments that were generated in conjunction with this application. Having said that, if we can have Mr. Vieira sworn in.
Mr. Vieira, if you could raise your right hand for me. You swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay. Mr. Vieira, you're the owner and applicant of the property in question?
Yes.
Okay, and when did you purchase the property?
May of 2015.
Okay, and upon purchasing the property, did you reside in the property? Okay, and when you purchased the property, what was your intent with respect to this property?
Just to live there, use it as my primary residence. After a period of time, I realized the lot's bigger than I could use, and I thought that I could build a house on the back end of the property.
Okay. And when did you start the wonderful subdivision process in this matter?
Well, it was a process. That's a good word. And I would say I first entertained the thought in 2016, started doing a little background research, but in earnest in terms of contracting with people and formally applying. And I believe the first time I reached out to you was somewhere in the middle, maybe a little earlier part of 2017.
Okay. And do you currently reside in the property?
No.
Okay. When did you leave the property?
May or June of last year, 2019.
Okay. And is the property, the front property, currently rented?
Yes.
Okay. And why did you decide to leave the property?
I had a job opportunity that was made available to me. I was recruited to work in Paramus, and initially my plan was to commute, and after a short period of trying to navigate parkway traffic at the hours that I would need to go back and forth, I realized that would be untenable, so I decided to move.
Okay. What is your occupation?
I'm a physician.
Okay. And when you first moved into the property in 2015, where was your practice?
In East Brunswick.
Okay. And were you affiliated with a hospital?
Yes, both Robert Wood Johnson, and St. Peter's right up the road. Okay.
And then when you received the job offer to move your practice to Paramus, not only did you move your practice, your hospital affiliation also moved to North Jersey. Is that correct?
That's correct. I still have privileges at Robert Wood Johnson and on rare occasion will do some clinical work there, but mostly it's now in hospitals surrounding Paramus and Bergen County.
Okay. Since you are no longer residing here, what is your ultimate game plan should the board grant the subdivision to create the building lot at the rear of the property?
I would like to go ahead and consider putting a house there. Given especially what happened in this recent time, we don't know the future. I haven't lost my appreciation for that part of New Jersey. So I don't know what a couple years down the road will hold. So I don't know when, but I would like to consider still building a house there.
Okay. And as of today, we have not decided, we have not submitted a plan for a house, but if you were to build a house, the house would be in conformance with whatever the zone requirements would be at the time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you and I had a conversation where we reviewed the technical review committee report of Franklin Township dated July 10th, 2020. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And in that report, the committee indicated that there were some other minor deficiencies to the plan, such as providing a pavement at the front of the driveway that we would be creating. We would do that. We are not requesting a variance. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then the surface shall be compliant with the township ordinance of 3/4 inch quarry processed stone. We will comply with that. We are not seeking a variance for that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then also, the committee indicated that in order to comply with the ordinance, we need additional planting of evergreen trees to comply with the ordinance, and you agreed to provide the additional planting, so we are not requesting a variance for that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All of the other comments, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I've reviewed with Mr. Vieira, and we can comply with them. And if there are any revisions required to the plan, they will be provided by a new engineer when he comes on board. I just have one last question of Mr. Vieira. Mr. Vieira, the current house that is on the property, is it serviced by public sewer and public water?
Public sewer, that was something that was converted at the time that I purchased. It was a septic system, and then it was a conversion, but the water is serviced by well.
Okay, so you are now tied into the sanitary sewer system in Franklin Township, and you would propose the same thing with the house in the rear, well and sanitary sewer, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions. So Peter, just to be clear, of all the variances you're not required, or you're not requesting, the one you are, I assume is for the flag lot 2902, 60,000 square feet required, 48,761 proposed, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thanks. Does the board have any questions of Mr. Vera?
Mr. Chairman, what I would suggest is for the public, why don't we have Mr. Vieira and then have Mr. O'Brien speak and have the whole presentation? Because I have a feeling Mr. O'Brien may answer or may address some issues that the public may have, and then just have the question and answer all together at the end.
Okay. Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, it didn't seem like there was a lot of board questions for Mr. Vieira anyway, and he remains sworn in, so that's fine. It does not look from my icons that Mr. O'Brien has solved his video issue, so Peter, I assume that he could go without video. Is that permissible?
I don't know what that is, but perhaps we can at least unmute Mr. O'Brien and then we can figure this out. Mr. O'Brien, are you there?
And I'm
Do you have your phone and your computer going on at the same time?
Mr. O'Brien?
We lost Mr. O'Brien.
Permanently or just talk?
My guess is he's rebooting because that might be the best solution for him right now.
Or he's with Mr. Fisk somewhere.
He's in the attendees list again, so we got to move him over. So we can port Mr. O'Brien magically to the participants.
So Christine is going to put up the actual subdivision plan so the board and the public can see it, since we have the time.
Can you move him over?
It definitely, he seems to be on the attendee list, not on the panelist list.
All right, I'll bring, get Mr. O'Brien in. He should be back in.
Right.
He is. He's muted. Still without video, but again, Peter, is that a problem? Vignola?
I was gonna say, which Peter? Yes.
There's Mr. O'Brien in person. I think we're going to be.
Ah, yes, we have video. Okay, great.
All right, Mr. O'Brien. Was muted. Oh, we need to unmute Mr. O'Brien.
He's unmute. He's unmuted.
Mr. O'Brien,
Good evening.
you can raise your right hand for me. You swear the testimony you're going to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Super.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Jumped off one machine and onto another to try to make things work.
Mr. O'Brien, what is your occupation?
I am a professional planner licensed by the state of New Jersey.
Can you briefly give the board the benefit of your educational and professional background?
I have a graduate degree from the New Jersey Institute of Technology. I'm certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners. I teach planning and zoning as an adjunct at Rutgers for the New Jersey planning officials, as well as for the Association of Planning and Zoning Administrators.
You're licensed in the state of New Jersey, right, Mr. O'Brien?
Currently licensed, that is in good standing, Chairman.
You're accepted.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. O'Brien, you are familiar with the application that is before the board. You're familiar with the subject property. You're familiar with the master plan and the zoning ordinances of the Township of Franklin, are you not?
I am.
Okay. Can you indicate to the board what relief we are seeking this evening for the record?
We are applying for a minor subdivision. It'll be 2 lots. And for bulk relief for a flag lot with insufficient buildable area. Flag lots are supposed to have 60,000 square feet of buildable area, not counting the flag pole. And the application before us is proposed 48,761 square feet.
Can you indicate to the board whether there are any unique aspects to this application? And can you reflect upon what is surrounding the subject property and the land uses currently in the area of Treptow Road?
Yes, thank you. This particular neighborhood, as you can see from the aerial photograph, consists of homes that face Treptow, Wilson, and Masada. There are 15.
Excuse me 1 second, Mr. O'Brien. What is the exhibit still available? At least I don't see it on my screen.
Yeah, that's okay, Mark. So if you could scroll up to the area map. That's it, top right-hand corner of the screen, PQ in the middle, large letters. You can see that the area I was just discussing, facing Treptow, Wilson, and then Masada. And if you take a look at those properties within those 3 streets, these properties have already been subdivided. At the very top, you can see what's known as Lot 27 and its subdivided parts are four properties there, formerly Lot 27. Bottom right, Lot 30 has been divided into two. And on the left-hand side, facing Masada on the left side, and then on the top right of Masada, Lot 35 has been split into 5 lots. So the entire area has been subdivided already. At the very top of the screen, facing those four subdivided lots at the top of Tepto, the 2 flag lots on the left away from Tepto have been subdivided off. They are flag lots. They are conforming in area. However, they are not conforming in terms of you're only allowed to have 1 flag lot per stem, and this subdivision came in with 2. So there's a number of nonconformities in this neighborhood. There are 15 properties beside the property in question in that area, as you can see on your screen. Of the 15 properties, 5 are larger than the proposed 48,761 square feet for the flag lot. 5 of them are smaller than the 40,000 square feet proposed for the front lot. And another 5 properties are between the 40,000 and the 48,000 square feet. So the proposed subdivision fits in with the character of the neighborhood and the sizes of the adjoining lots. So of the 15 properties, 5 are smaller, 5 are about the same, and 5 are larger. The proposed flag lot will have no impact upon its neighbors. As you can see where the letters PQ are, and then looking to the left, you can see Masada. That 1 lot to its immediate left is the only one that's going to be nearby. That's lot 35.05, and that is heavily buffered by the existing trees, which was on the aerial that you saw a few moments ago. The proposed house, when it is built, will meet all the bulk standards of the zone. You've just heard from Mr. Vieira stating that it will conform to all of the bulk requirements for flag lots. So the house itself, because it needs no further bulk variances, is right size for this lot. It's not out of character with the neighborhood. The proposed home will utilize the current safety and building standards, which are much safer than previous construction. And the new home will utilize the sanitary sewer system, which will protect the environment from another septic system. There's also a positive economic aspect to this application. Construction, of course, costs money. That money has to be spent somewhere. It adds to the tax ratables of the township. Workers will frequent local establishments. Residents will patronize the area businesses. And these are all economic positives for the community. The master plan, I'm sorry, Mr.
Go ahead, Mr. O'Brien. Go ahead, you can continue. I was just going to ask you about the master plan, but proceed.
Thank you. The 2016 re-examination has amongst its goals, maintain the diversity of housing, but encourage infill and stabilization of current residential areas rather than continuing sprawl patterns of development. And it goes on to say, encourage new construction or renovation in developed areas and encourage the subdivision of larger lots into conforming lots in appropriate locations in developed areas. This application meets these goals by providing infill housing that is conforming to the character of the neighborhood, much like the prior subdivisions in this particular area.
Mr. O'Brien, does the municipal land use law give the board any guidance when they are going to make their decision in this matter?
Yes, it does, Mr. Lanford. This application is supported by several passages of the municipal land use law, which is in section 40:55D-2, where the purposes of zoning are listed. And among those purposes are A, encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote public health, safety, and general welfare. Item G, provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of residential uses in order to meet the needs of all New Jersey citizens. I, to promote a desirable visual environment, that's L, promote a desirable visual environment, and M, encourage coordination of the various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development to the more efficient use of the land. And this application is consistent with those passages by providing for a new home that conforms to the neighborhood character and will be safer and more environmentally conscious than older homes in this area.
And I assume, Mr. O'Brien, that we are seeking relief under the C2 standards. Is that correct?
We are.
And can you indicate, or can you give your opinion as to whether we meet the C2 standards and are entitled to the grant of that variance, in your opinion?
I believe that the benefits outweigh the detriments and that this proposal is a better planning alternative. It meets the goals of the master plan, which specifically call for subdividing large lots in appropriate places. The proposed home on the flag lot is right size for the lot and conforms to the pattern of development in the neighborhood. The proposed home will have no negative impact upon the neighborhood and surrounding properties. This meets the goals of the municipal land use law, and I can conclude that this application can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without substantial impairment of the zone plan and zoning ordinance.
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Brien. I have no further questions of Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Does the board have any questions for either Mr. O'Brien or Mr. Vieira?
And I've unmuted Jennifer in case she has questions. Mr. Lanford, is on the TRC report, there were some questions about comment number 2, environmental trees grading. Can somebody speak to those issues in the TRC report?
There are some wetlands on the property. We have already submitted an LOI to the town. The house, or a house that can be built on that property without impacting any of the wetlands. Ultimately, when the house is sited in the future, we're aware that the township has a tree removal ordinance. We will try to site the house in such a place that we will minimize the removal of trees, and to the extent that we can replace trees, we will replace trees. And as the chairman is well aware, if we can't replace all the trees, we are required to make a contribution, which we are willing to do so.
Right. So, I mean, it makes sense, I think, that, that will be a condition that will be fulfilled at the time that, the building lot or the site of the house on the property would actually be developed, right, Peter?
That is correct.
Mr. Lanford, is there, the property that this would be closest to is the house at the end of Masada Street. The plan is showing the required 40-foot building setback. I don't know if this is for Lanford or Mr. O'Brien, but do you see any need to do any disturbance in that 40-foot setback? And could you commit to having that area have no tree removal?
We obviously cannot construct within that rear yard setback, and we will not remove any trees. I mean, there may be some minimal disturbance toward closer to where a house may be constructed if that's necessary for grading, but to the extent that we can keep everything to the rear of that property adjacent to the Masada property undisturbed, we will gladly do that, agree to that as a condition.
Okay, thank you.
I also had a question. Well, one of them was Mark's, which you already answered. The other one was comment C under that same section. Was that resolved either to eliminate or easement created that allows grading onto 2901?
We will deal with that with our engineer. If we need an easement, we'll create it. If we can eliminate it and not have to put an easement in place, we will not do so, but we will one or the other.
Okay. And my last question is related in the same section to comment A. So you got a presence or absence determination issued on August 23rd, 2019. It confirmed the presence, classified them as ordinary, and then the rest of the comment from Mark says, since wetlands are shown to be present, the applicant shall now perform a full wetlands delineation, acquire LOI from the NJDEP. That's still the case?
That is correct.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Any other board members have any questions for either witness? All right. Then in that case, I will ask for a motion to open this hearing to the public.
So moved.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. This meeting is open to the public for comment on this application. Mark, you can go ahead.
Okay, so,
Work
Mr.
your
Chairman, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to unmute all of the callers. We did not have any hands raised or chat, but just to make sure the public has the opportunity to ask any questions or have comments, I'm going to unmute everybody. Oh, we did just get a hand. So you know what? I will go to Ms. King first.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Mr. King, but that's okay. I get it all the time. So I reside at 216 Treptow, and in listening to the comments so far, it does not appear that the proposed work in any way affects our property. We're at I think it's block 30.04. Right. And I just wanted to confirm that with the group here to make sure that, this in no way affects our ability to do anything with our property in the future. And then the second question that I had was with regards to well water and whether or not there's any impact perceived from the additional housing being constructed.
So just so I can, just so I can locate you for the board, what's your address again?
216 Treptow, and it's 30.04 in that PQ circle that Mr. O'Brien shared earlier.
Okay, so you would be, yeah, so you're directly next to that PQ, I guess right on Treptow. You're the first house right next to it to the left.
Correct, and it would be, I guess, the driveway, the pole would be adjacent to our lot.
Okay, and as far as impact, what in particular would you be concerned about?
Potentially constructing, just making a change, maybe putting another another house on the lot if that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can take that one, Mark. I think the other question was about the well. I mean, every application is judged on its own merits. One doesn't create necessarily a precedent for another or bias it in any way. It would be judged, on its own merits and the conditions that, you propose in any application you were to make in the future.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Michael.
And as for well, I think, Mr. O'Brien could probably address that. I think basically the thrust of Mr. King's question is will the fact that you'd be drilling another well for another potential residence down the line affect the well water in the area and specifically his?
I don't know if Mr. O'Brien can answer, but I'm looking at the distance from where the proposed house is, and the well, if we were to drill a well, it would be a fairly substantial distance from Mr. King's property and where his house is. And although I don't know exactly where his well is on his property, it would be well on the other side of the flagpole, and Mr. King's house is closer towards Wilson Road. So my guess is that there would be no impact on his well because of a new well being drilled in this area. And quite frankly, most of the houses in this neighborhood are on well water, and to my knowledge, there are no problems with wells in this area.
Well, actually, according to the plan, the plan and the application, the new house is on a well, but the existing house is on a well, but the new house will be on public water.
If public water is available, we would be glad to tie into it. I don't know if it is available, Mr. Healy.
The plan that you gave us shows water in Treptow and a water line going up to the new house.
There is public water on Tripto.
Okay, if there is, thank you, Mr. Hack. I thought you'd know the answer to that. If there is public water on Treptow, then we will tie in and that will solve Mr. King's question.
It would. In fact, who knows? Mr. King may want to also tie into. So,
Mr. Hack needs some more customers.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same piece of confusion in that I thought it was proposed as a well, and that the current house was on a well, and the new proposed house would be on a well. But
I apologize.
No worries. Got that cleared up. Mr. King, any other questions?
No, that answers it. Thank you all very much, and Pedro, best of luck to you.
Thanks, Lauren. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions for the board of the applicant? Or any comments?
Once again, I'm going to unmute the public and see if anybody else has questions or comments. All right, so the public here, anybody have a question?
Yes, this is Krishna Patel. Hello?
Okay, just give me 1 second. We can hear you. Just give me 1 second to mute the other callers. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, this is Krishna Patel. I'm the I'm the owner of 3505. I understand I heard about the divisions and subdivisions and everything. My house was built in 1987, and we had the well water, not the well water, public. We were made to get the public and the public sewage and public water. Current recommendation would be, again, going for the public water, public sewage. That's my request for this building. The major problem is that my house is set back, and this building, to what I look in the plan, is very much set back. If they want the division, move it to the front to your property, which you have 42, the lot number 1. If you want to move the lot number 2 close to my place, which is I can see just next to my window, everything, and the trees are kind of going down, okay? So I understand the 40 feet distance requirement and all that. Again, I'm not into this building, or I don't have anybody, but according to me, as a layman person, for the building part or anything what is requirement, I oppose to the variance requirement of the 60,000 to 58. Number 1, it should be meeting the standard. Number 2, the major concern is that this plot on the picture, to what I see visually, is very close to me. If they are dividing, and if the owner wants to divide his property and build the property, have it as a sister, mother, close to each other, then putting it all the way in the back, close to my property. That's the major complaint, or what you call objection I have to this building, which is on the map to what I see. I'm sure the township is looking into all the flagpole requirements. Flagpole requirements does not meet the standards for it, and all in the next statement it says will comply, will comply, will comply. I have an objection to anything that will comply as an issue. That's the other thing. There are 3-4 things which I kind of put in the magnifying standard and looked into that. This thing will comply. It makes a very difficult situation for me, in the sense will comply, because once I'm in a house, I like the township to be honorable and to be looking into that it meets, and this is how it has to be, rather than, oh, we don't know, and 10 years go down, 20 years go down, and we recognize this as an issue. The other one, I see that the markers, I didn't realize till November. I thought November, I said, and I just go away I take tours. So I'm away from my home, maybe 3 months, 4 months, but then I come back and I see a problem. It's a safe neighborhood, which we live on the Masada Street. Our zoning requirement was 1 acre lot. So I know initially mentioning of the subdivisions and this division on this side and this division on this side. And I'm sure the township has their plans and they know that this area, they cannot be divided, they can be divided. These are the area requirement of the building. This is the plot. And now we are seeing that from the 60,000 going to 48,000, what is it? For the 55,000 second lot is going to 60,000 should be the requirement and it's going to 48,000. Yeah, it is a problem for me. I think if Mr. Pedro wants to build a home, move towards your side. Okay. The other thing, lived in this house for 30 years. I've seen the wetlands. I've seen the flood zones. I personally, when I had floods in my home, I'd come to the township to look into what is the zoning. They said, okay, zoning is C. I don't understand much about it, but I had to kind of get extra insurances for my flood, for the basement. I put extra sump pumps. I had to put the generator. The Sandy really ruined my home. After the generator was put in, I had a better option that there was not flooding happen. I have 3 sump pumps in my area because I'm close to the wetland. So I know in the reading, I see that, oh, wetland is not an issue. I know Mr. Pedro is building the house. I don't know how far are they away from the creek. And there's a requirement for the creek. And then I hear that there will be easement made. Okay, in my late term, that's what I understand. The easement made, proposed, will meet. You know, when it comes to the approval, people want to just get approval and get done. Yes, I have an objection. Then again, it's very close to, and I can see through, and there's no privacy that will be maintained. Again, in the communication, I heard that we'll comply, we'll try to comply, there will be trees knocked down, we don't know. So I have objection to these things because when it comes and I come down, say I'm away for 2 years and I come back again, I don't see any of that happening. I don't have the time to go. I want to live in peace. I want to live in harmony. I want to have good neighbors and I would welcome the neighborhood, no problem. But I would prefer the lot, which is put all the way in the back in the picture on the map. It should be more towards the other lot, which you have. Move it away from closer to my lot. Because we did have the ordinances, we do have certain distances. We had to comply with a lot of stuff when we were building our buildings here. The Baltica company, I think this map was it says Baltica company that was generated from them since 1987. And in the wetland, it said no issue about the flood. Yeah, I think the township should consider a little bit differently to the residents who had gone through, but then I never came to complain about, I just always kind of modified at 1 sump pump, 2nd sump pump, 3 sump pump, battery operated sump pump, generator now. We all have generators on Masada Street. We all have sewage pumps. We all have basement, and we all were flooded at one time.
Okay, Miss Patel, I think we get the picture. Why don't we let you get some answers?
Okay, so I do have objections and I need somebody to contact because I tried to go on the WebEx to connect personally to see that I can raise my hand, but at least I could view my voice right now.
Yep.
And
if you'll give us a chance to answer some of the concerns you raised, I can answer one very quickly. The new house, wherever it is built, would be connected to public water and sewer. That's been testified to. So I'll leave it to the applicant to address the other questions that you might have.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, the intention of the application when it was put together was to keep the front lot at 40,000 square feet, which is consistent with the ordinance requirements. If you look at the plan that was submitted in conjunction with the application, the house that is on the front lot is fairly close to Treptow Road. That property has a significant rear yard. If the board thinks that Ms. Patel's arguments have some merit or value, perhaps we can make the front lot a little bit smaller, which would then afford the opportunity to probably relocate the house closer to Treptow Road and further away from her house. And if we were to shrink the front lot, there's still sufficient rear yard to that lot, which would allow somebody use and enjoyment of that property. So that's something that the board may want to consider, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, you may be replacing one problem with another. But, you know, I don't know where, and I don't know that you know, the best place to build this house. You are going to have to still get your LOI for the wetlands that are there. I don't know if your building envelope could be put more towards the, I don't know what the lot 20, it looks like 28 side of the property, like on the same side of the wetlands as the current 2901. I don't know if there's enough area there to be able to do that.
The problem is we may not be able to cross the ditch. I think that was the issue.
Right. That's right. Because your flagpole is coming in from that side, right? No, you can't. So unless you were to seek that variance. So, okay. So you'd have to put it essentially on the lower side of the underside of the creek, the way you're looking at this figure.
Right.
And so you're basically saying you could probably slide the house a little bit rightward, for lack of a better, more towards Treptow Road.
There is sufficient room right now to move it. You know, again, if you looked at the plan that we submitted, we showed it as a possible dwelling size and location. We didn't want to fix it. And it does have the ability to move. And, you know, the 40-foot setback line is a significant distance from where that proposed house or the proposed possible house is shown. And we can, you know, assuming there are no other issues with the wetlands, we can move the house closer to Treptow.
Yeah, I mean, that might solve a problem, or at least not a problem, but a potential concern. Let's put it that way. I mean, from the aerial, it looks like there's a fair amount of woods between, you know, within the 40-foot buffer. But of course, you know, it's hard to tell unless you're on the ground.
And I think the best aerial to show the woods is the last page of the TRC report, which I think clearly shows that there is fairly significant vegetation on both the adjoining property and our property. And again, as per your earlier request, we would agree to maintain all the vegetation within that 40-foot setback. And again, we can probably pick up some additional, create an additional setback by moving the house forward. And again, I don't have a scale, but my guess is that right now, if we were to move the house all the way back to the setback line, it would still be 70 or 80 feet from her house. And we probably, like I said, have the ability to move it forward 20 or 30 feet.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine with me. I'm not you know, necessary arbiter of that decision, or
Right.
For some reason, if in the future there's some other reason that isn't come to light during this hearing where you can't do that for whatever the reason, I don't know what it would be. You know, where we're not fixing the position of the house tonight. So I think you probably answered the question probably as best you can right now.
Thank you, Ms. Orsini.
Excuse me. My other thing is that I see the markers there, and I did see the property line. Maybe they want to, Mr. Pedro, want to kind of review with your surveyor, because it seems like it's coming towards more on my side. I do remember early on when the children were playing there in the backyard, there were two poles with the wiring, which I don't see at all now. I only see one on the left side of my house, all the way on the other side of the property. So if it is more towards me, that's what I just want them to kind of look into, because I was just talking to our neighborhood. Our property, not to measure from the front line, because there's a street, the front 3 feet are for the township, which we don't kind of include. We don't have the walkway because it's a cul-de-sac. Maybe want to revise that, and maybe if Mr. Pedro or somebody can walk me through that this is the property line, it will help me out. The reason why is that I'll be gone away. I serve the Army, so I'll be going away, and I'm a physician too, to just let you know. So I'm here for the COVID patients and everything to take care of them. That's besides the point. It's just that I'll be most of the time away, and I want to be having a safer area. And to have the, I know it's a big thing to build up everything, so move the house to the right side and do all the way to the left side in the picture.
Okay. And to answer your question, if you look, and the plan is on record with the township, but at the rear of Mr. Vieira's property, next to your property, there are concrete monuments.
Covering the microphone, Pete.
And there is an iron pin there. So there are markings in the ground showing where the property line is.
So what I was told when I stopped by, whoever the tenant was, I said, I'd like to talk with Mr. Pedro. I'm here for the next 2 weeks. If he can come and see me, I can go over with it with just a line, so we know that we are clear, okay? So, and then I looked at the map and everything to see where the building was that came in board. I think it just came in on the, I got the letter just about a week ago, on the 15th, 16th, 17th. No, I got the letter last week. And then I just said, okay, I have to put some time for it. So I have to take this time and review and understand a little bit more. That's what's going on. I have no problem for Mr. Pedro to have his lot subdivided and have the building. All it is too close in the picture. And if you look at the other lots, we either have more front or the back where there's more of the greenery, as we call it, the preserve. And we are pretty much in the preserved area, lot area. So if one can look into that and get back to me, I would appreciate.
I am sure Mr. Vieira would be happy to sit down and talk to you and review the entire plan with you at your convenience. Is that correct, Mr. Vieira?
Yeah, absolutely. No issues. Shortly after I moved in, I had a survey done of the property, and I have those records, and the person who did it showed me the markers of the pins. I'm happy to show those records. I'm happy to review and just so that there's agreement and that there's no contention. The last thing I want is contention with neighbors.
No, it's just that we can walk through. I can give my number. I had your address. I was going to send it out to you because once I'm away, I'm busy. I'm away. I'll be out of country. So I just want to let you know. Okay. That'll be difficult to reach me. So maybe if next week you can come by and we can just go over with it.
Sure, I think that's a possibility. Just let me know, and I'm happy to do that.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vieira, and thank you, Peter, for clarifying a few things there. Any other members of the public wishing to comment on this application?
All right, so I'm going to try one last time here with the two other remaining folks.
Yes, please.
Okay, any questions or comments on the application, callers?
Yes, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
My name is Rayanne Rea, 226 Wilson Road. We've just moved to close the house, more into view from my backyard with the last call. So, Mr. Vieira, if I can join you and Ms. Patel, I'd really appreciate that in your meeting. But here's my huge thing is water, especially water draining down from Treptow Road. You have built all these houses, and I'm an older home, which apparently wants to be replaced, but I'm already having water problems that I never had. You're building up the land, you're taking out all the trees, you're just, the drainage is getting difficult here in this area with all the building, and I'm just really hoping you take it seriously, have a water engineer really come and look at this area before we build any more. The other thing was our sewer system. I'm wondering if maybe we should look into expanding the pump house or something. Like, I don't know that it can handle. I'd like someone who's got a bigger brain than me to check that out.
Yeah, I mean, they actually did get approval from the sewer authority. I mean, they need to provide some documents, but it's not a question of capacity, I don't think.
That's correct, Ms.
Okay.
Orsini. And to just answer her question a little bit further, when we cite the house, I am sure as part of the requirement with all new houses that are being built, we will probably have to put a dry well in, assuming the water table can handle it, to take some of the water so it doesn't just free flow off the property. That has been the practice in this municipality over the last few years, and I'm sure that will be the case here.
Okay, well, like I said, with all the trees coming down and all the building and all the elevating of land before we build has definitely impacted. And if you'd like, you can just drive up the road and see how the land goes and drops down at older homes. And like I said, I'm already starting to have water problems, and would just really like it if someone would really check it out before the building occurs. The other thing is, my spikes are in. I had my land surveyed also. My spikes are in, and you have cleared all of the trees, every last tree up to my property line. So that tree footage that's there is mine. And I am sure this house is going to be in full view when the leaves come off the trees. So I'm just wondering if that's going to impact my property or it's going to impact subdividing my property.
Well, all I can say is whatever trees that they took
to my land.
Yeah, whatever trees that they take down or have taken down, that it's as part of this application, they will have to, account for in either replant or, otherwise satisfied the shade tree ordinance. So,
well, I guess they were allowed to because they, like I said, they cleared right to my property line. There used to be like 400 feet of woods there, and it's down to my 100 feet. So, it's to my property line. I don't think they can come on and take any trees out where I am.
So
on my property,
that actually that's interesting. So that raises a question, Peter. If there was clearing, which I was under the impression there was, that this was sort of a subdivision and a concept, but if there has been clearing, then somebody better figure out what they cleared and put in a plan to replace it.
Yeah, I'd like to have Mr. Vieira respond. To my knowledge, the only clearing that was done was to get equipment back there to do some of the testing, but I don't think there was any broad clearing. I'm not aware of any, but maybe Mr. Vieira can answer the question whether.
I'm sorry, the person who was just speaking, I didn't pick up on where her property is relative to mine.
I walk right out onto your backyard. Our backyards meet.
She's lot 31.
Your lot 31, what? Lot 31?
31, I believe.
Okay.
I don't know. Gentlemen, does anybody know what 226 Wilson Road is?
Okay.
That's lot 31.
Lot 31, okay. I can assure you, I never cleared any trees while I was living there. If anything came down, it was a result of a storm. There was maybe one or two trees that were in trouble. I even hired a tree surgeon to come and help salvage the trees. I never cleared anything that was, existing. And to speak to this neighbor's concern and to even Dr. Patel's, that 40-foot, where the house is currently located on the plans, as Mr. Lanford referred to, that was a product of the planner and the engineer. If the house could be moved further towards Treptow Road, that's perfectly fine with me. I have no desire whatsoever to clear any trees that can be salvaged whatsoever. So I'm not sure about the clearing. There were no trees, to my knowledge, that were taken down since I bought the property.
I don't honestly know whether you took it down or the previous owner took it down. But you can go back there and look. I've got metal spikes there showing where my property line is, and your tree line is right up there. My tree line is right up to the property, and then it's clear now. And it wasn't earlier in life. So I don't know, and I would assume you're allowed to take down your own trees on your property. So, you know, there was no reason for me to complain or anything, and I kept my buffer. But I just want to make sure that you don't touch mine on my property.
No, I mean, I don't think I'd be allowed to by law. That wouldn't be my intent anyway, but.
Yeah, that's definitely
And
true.
I'm very
So,
nice. You can talk to me if there's trees that have problems or whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's already been cleared right to my property line.
No, I understand what you're talking about. I'm very familiar, but I can assure you, I did not take down any trees. I mean, outside of some deadfall or something, I did not take down any existing trees since I moved in 2015.
and I would assume, Dr. Vera, since you moved out and up to Bergen County, I would assume that the person you're renting the existing house on 2901 is not playing Paul Bunyan, right?
No, I mean, I sincerely don't think so. They've done some gardening and yard work, but no, I don't think that they've been taking down any significant trees at all.
Okay. All right. What I can assure you the person who's asking that question is there will be Rayanne, sorry. Thank you. That there is there won't be any clearing onto your property if that's staked out and surveyed. There's not going to be, and there's still going to be the 40-foot buffer, which, like I said somewhat presciently, I think, when I was talking to Dr. Patel, you move it further away from her lot, you then move it a little closer to yours. That said, there's going to be a 40-foot buffer that's going to have to be maintained. Now, whether that's treed or whether they plant more trees there because they're going to compensate for ones they take out to actually build the house, which would be a logical thing to do. You may actually have more of a buffer there ultimately.
That would be lovely.
And I do believe that we've already established that the staggered row of evergreens that extends onto your property or along your property line, I should say, not onto your property, is going to be spaced more closely together as per the ordinance. So they already indicated they would comply with that. So that should help a little bit, I hope.
Okay, and like I said, can the township really track on water drainage here?
When they build the homes or when they build the new house, the plan will get reviewed in detail by the Township Engineering Office. And most likely, as Mr. Lanford said, most likely there'll be a dry well to handle the additional runoff from that property.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, that is, you've hit all of the callers.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. So I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
Move to close.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Peter, back to you for any last comments or any. First of all, any further board questions?
I just wanted to have a clarification, make sure I understand one thing. It was mentioned at some point in the discussion that this ended in terms of potentially moving the house forward toward Treptow Road, that possibly the property on Treptow Road could be made smaller. Is that, hear that correct? Because I'm not I'm not, that would create another variance. I'm not sure how I feel about making that property smaller when you have an opportunity to put a house on a lot that fully meets all the setback requirements. So I'm assuming we're still looking at the subdivision tonight, and the subdivision is as it was originally submitted, and that is not making any lots, not changing the size or the proposed size of any of the lots. Am I understanding that correct, or did I miss something?
I just threw that out as if the board wanted to discuss it, but the application that we submitted is what we would like to get approved. But if the board wanted us to make lot 29.01 a little smaller, we could do that, but that's not our desire.
Yeah, I agree with Bob. I mean, I don't, unless you could make it so small as to eliminate the variance on 2902, which I doubt you could do. Now you're creating two variances, and in practicality, you do have 55,000 some odd square feet of that lot. That's real. The only thing is, under the ordinance, you don't count the part that's the flag, so you have a net of 48. So, but I mean, I don't see how that solves anything. So I'm with Bob on that. I don't think it makes sense to create two variances out of one.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a suggestion? You know, we've been circling around a bunch of related issues. You know, when I look at the plan, I don't really quite understand why they placed the house all the way in the back. It doesn't really give them a usable backyard. It's more driveway, more tree removal, more utility extensions. I would think it would behoove the applicant to place the house, you know, to the right, as close to that front yard, 40-foot front yard setback to the, I'll just say to the right, or closer to Treptow. There's a lot of separation between the front lot. There'd still be a lot of separation between the front lot and that back lot. It would presumably save that stand of trees, you know, which addresses the buffering issues that people have talked about, the drainage issues that people have talked about. It'd be less expensive to the builder. So, you know, I would suggest some, and I know you don't want to, and you're right, this is subdivision. You don't want to cite the exact location of the house, but, you know, some condition along the lines of that they'll work with staff to locate the house as close to the you know, the front of the proposed lot 29.02 as possible to address these issues that have been discussed. Something along those lines.
And I think that makes eminent sense, Mr. Healy, and absent, and even Mr. Vieira indicated that he had no objection to moving the house closer to Treptow Road. So absent any constraints that may be imposed by any LOI, we would agree to locate the house as close as possible to the front yard setback of the new lot.
Yep, makes a lot of sense to me. Any other board comments or questions? Okay, if not, Peter, do you have any final words?
Just very briefly, the lot in question, I think you sort of hit on it, Mr. Chairman. It is 55,000 square feet. There is ample room to build a house on that lot. I do appreciate the concerns of the neighbors. We will do whatever we have to do to work with them to make sure that we site the house as far away from every one of those neighbors as we possibly can. But I do think that this is an appropriate location for a flag lot. The deviation is not a significant deviation, and I think Mr. O'Brien's testimony justified that deviation. And I would respectfully request that the board grant the subdivision with the one variance that we are seeking. And I thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks, Peter. So I'll entertain a motion. If someone would like to make it, other than me.
I'll move that the variance for square footage and lot size be granted. The condition, I guess if you want to say, condition upon the applicant working with the township on the best site location for the house, And that, no additional, obviously, no additional variances be created. I don't know if there's any other items that anyone wants to add into the motion, but substantially, that's it.
I think, Mr. Thomas, I think they agreed that they would not take down any trees in the rear yard setback. I think that would be something that would be appropriate, especially if we're going to move the house forward.
That would be fine.
So it sounds like we have a motion, and of course it would, the applicant would comply with everything in the TRC that they already testified to that they would comply with. So I think that will be the basis of the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Hey, Christine.
Councilman Chase,
Yes.
Carl Hauck,
Yes.
Mahir Rafi,
Yes.
Jennifer Ragnow,
Yes.
Mustafa Manzray,
Yes.
Robert Thomas,
Yes.
Carl Schmidt,
Yes.
and Chairman Orsini.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Peter. Good luck, Dr. Vieira, and thank you for your attendance tonight.
Thank you very much.
Mark, do we have any other business?
Nope.
Okay, then. Make a motion to adjourn.
May I ask a quick question?
Oh, yeah, sure.
The callers that had some concerns and questions, if, I don't know how someone could provide me their contact information or mutually provide them my contact information so that I'm happy to meet with them next week. And
Definitely, yeah.
so I don't know how to go from here.
I would think the best way to do it is go through the township. If the callers want to be contacted, that they could email me, Mark with a K, .Healy, HEALEY, @franklinnj.gov. And you can just give me whatever contact information you want me to provide to Mr. Vieira, and then we'll give it to him and you guys can talk.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dr. Vieira, for raising that point.
Thank you.
Okay, so motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, Christine, when is our next meeting? Should we have it?
The next meeting is due to come August 5th, and you do have something on there.
Okay, so we'll plan for August 5th then.
That's
Everyone
correct.
stay safe.